Chapter 5 Ethical Theories. This is a long chapter that is really trying to show that talking about ethics is not something simple. As we said before, ethics is a science, but there are many ethical theories, and these theories are the result of critical reflections carried out around the morals that rule in an era. Morality is not something that remains constant throughout generations and societies, but it is changing as the eras change, and it's different from each society because morality is the law that regulates us and tells us what it is that can be done, what cannot be done, what is right and what is wrong. If we think of the witch hunts in the Middle Ages, for example, it was considered as something that should be done in a society that takes pride in caring for the members of its society so that they do not fall into sin or witchcraft. This is now unthinkable. One thing that has also changed is the way of dressing. It was unthinkable in the Middle Ages for women to wear clothing that would show their body. Now, this is not something amoral. Religion has a lot to do with it, and despite being a very rigid institution, in some areas it has adapted to social changes. In the 24 slides of this chapter, we want to show how ethical theories are able to justify moral rules and moral judgments. The moral rules express obligations. They express something is a duty. For example, all people must do X. Moral judgments are value judgments. They express something is good, and its form is X is good. Therefore, all ethical theories establish principles that justify statements such as all people must do X because X is good. But the justification of statements varies from theory to theory, so different types of ethical theories have then been established. A possible classification, which is what we are going to present in this chapter, is according to the answer to the question, what does X is good mean? Here are two types of theories, those which are cognitivist theories and those which are not cognitivist theories. Cognitivist theories say that good is a quality of X, so the sentence X is good is a descriptive proposition which will be true or false depending on whether X is actually good or not. Non-cognitivist theories assert that good is not a quality of X. When we say that X is good, we are not confirming anything real, but only expressing a particular emotive state. In the following charts, you will see the existing divisions among the cognitivist ethics which have two different types of theory: theological ethics and deontological ethics. Now I will go on to talk about Aristotle, who spoke a lot about ethics and wondered, what is the purpose of man? What is good life about? Aristotle maintained that what is inherent to human beings, that which differentiates humans from animals, is reason. He maintained that the specific human activity is the contemplative life, the theoretical life, which could only be accomplished by the elite. And that in order to arrive at this good life, this contemplative life, one must behave well. One must possess the necessary knowledge and prudence to be able to practice the virtues and acquire the habit of behaving according to those virtues. But how can one practice a virtuous life? According to Aristotle, in order to choose the virtuous way between pleasures and pains, it is necessary to apply the rule of right balance or happy medium and prudence. Applying the rule of the happy medium consists in choosing between two extremes, between two vices. One is by excess and the other by defect. For example, it is said that the virtue of bravery is the happy medium between two vices: recklessness, the vice of excess, and cowardice, the vice of deficiency. but the choice of the happy medium is the intermediate position. An example is, we must eat according to our needs, avoiding to eat prudently or too much or sparingly. But in addition to applying the rule of the happy medium, it is necessary to consider the judgment of the prudent man to choose the most virtuous action. Hence, prudence is the key to all virtues for Aristotle. Without it, it is not possible to have a virtuous life, and therefore the knowledge of the happy medium is not only knowing the formula, but it is knowing how to apply the rules to the right circumstances. In addition, Aristotle said that achieving happiness requires wisdom in the choice, moderation, and determination, and not allowing oneself to be carried away by desire, because without the guidance of intelligence, the disorganized passions, devoid of order and purpose, hinder any human project of an excellent life, whether private or collective. Hedonism of Epicurus. Hedonist theories identify good with pleasure, and these theories consider that the final goal of all human activity is the attainment of pleasure. Epicurus asserts that the citizens who live in the empires are unhappy because they are afraid of death, of the gods, of destiny, and if they could only get rid of their fears and end their desires, they will achieve the benefits of reason and be happy. He suggests that man should lead a quiet and calm life, and in order to reach happiness, fears must disappear. When Epicurus refers to pleasure, he does not refer to momentary pleasures, but to the pleasure that lasts throughout life. He suggests that if humans can eliminate the causes that cause human fears, then happiness can be achieved. He says that happiness is that state in which there is no pain in the body nor turmoil in the soul. Epicurus calls it ataraxy, and this is achieved through pleasure. He says that virtue is an indispensable condition to achieve this pleasure or ataraxy. He continues saying that one cannot live peacefully without exercising prudence, honesty, and justice, and it is impossible to live prudently, honorably, and justly, and not achieve a pleasurable life. He writes, "Whoever does not live according to prudence, honesty, and justice cannot live happily." Utilitarianism. This term refers to the attribute of any object to produce or cause a benefit, an advantage, pleasure, or happiness. Utilitarianism stems from a selfish concept of human nature and maintains that man always acts moved by his own interests, which are manifested in the pursuit of pleasure and the escape from pain. Immanuel Kant. For Kant, the fundamental question of ethics is not what is good, but what should I do? Kantian ethics are defined by the fact that moral rules must possess a universal validity. He rejects teleological ethics because they refer to subjective preferences and says that they are elitist and therefore not universal. He proposes deontological ethics in which a single criterion is established to base on or to identify all the rules. He also considers it to be a moral law or a fundamental rule. This is what he calls the categorical imperative, and he puts it this way: act according to the maxim that you would wish all other rational people to follow, as if it were a universal law. I invite you now to read the last slides of this chapter, between slides 12 and 24, which are the last theories about ethics. Each author is raising different perspectives and relying on different interests. For example, we have rights ethics, which are ethical political theories that have been presented as defenders of justice towards well-being. We also have John Rawls with his ethics of justice, who is committed to the defense of progressive liberalism. There is another ethical theory that has to do with the communicative or discourse ethics. It is a reformulation of the Kantian ethics posed by Otto Appel, a German philosopher who tries to replace solitary goodwill with a community of dialogue.